Inchoate. The process was inchoate.
Inchoate, yeah, thank you. It was inchoate, and by what it means is that it is not complete. It has not followed. It has not completed. They can eventually, those 37 local government created out of the 20 can be made to be local council development areas. And in that wise, I think it was also given that the 20 local government will have the funds. But don't forget, sir, that the LCDAs are also part of those 20 local governments. They were formed from a local government. So we are not strangers, not in any way. We are still in existence. And don't forget now, what I want to put into it is a process that has been run for 21 good years successfully, that has been operating even better than some existing local governments from other states that have conducted elections in those local governments for more than some local governments that are existing in the constitution cannot be called strangers. Thank you.
Okay, I want to believe that with your very articulate line of defense, maybe I should withdraw the word stranger and say at best, LCDAs, as they function in Lagos and other states of the Federation, are acquaintances to the Constitution as a result of the pronouncement of the Supreme Court on the litigation by the then Lagos State government on the creation of local council development authorities as an inchoate entity as pronounced by the Supreme Court. Okay, let me go to Barrister Okolie. Barrister Okolie, are you there?
I'm here, I can hear you.
Fantastic. Barrister Okolie, the Supreme Court, from the responses of the governor of Oyo State and the former governor of Ekiti State, may have pushed itself into a cul-de-sac that is generally taught against in law schools, that courts must be very careful not to make pronouncements that may ultimately end up being academic, because it does seem from the responses of former Governor Fayose and Makinde, and which may be the sentiments of many governors that are not talking out now, realpolitik would or may end up making the pronouncement or the ruling of the Supreme Court quite academic, and the governors may ultimately still just find a way around what the Supreme Court is trying to achieve. Your response, sir?
The law is dynamic. Current ground norm of Nigeria is the 1999 Constitution as amended severally over time. In practice, we've not been practicing the LCDA form of governance. It's a new contraption that governors brought up. It started from the current president when he was a governor. And we've always had local government system where funds are paid directly to the local government chairman. I think the finance minister then post on national dailies funds that were paid to each of the 774 local governments in Nigeria. It recognizes only the local governments. It does not recognize LCDAs. So I don't think that what the Supreme Court did was, by their ruling, was an academic exercise. It's something that has been practiced over time.
I think, sir, you may not have understood my question very well. My question fundamentally centers around the fact that even if the fund coming from the Federation account goes directly to the local government councils, as you have rightly explained, that at some point, the former Minister of Finance used to publish funds going to those local government councils. I am saying that given the response of Governor Makinde, the local government chairman may be hounded to give the funds to the governor or spend the funds as directed by the governor, because as putting their offices at the mercy of their governors. The local government chairmen are holding their offices at the mercy of the local government chairman. I'll come back to you, Barrister Okolie. I have another lawyer, Barrister Kolawole. What would be your response, Barrister Kolawole, to that? Hello?
Hello, am I audible?
Is Barrister Kolawole still there? Okay. Barrister Okolie, you may want to have a go at that.
Okay. In continuation to what I was saying, because I wanted to arrive at that, I wanted to first of all say that what the Supreme Court decided is not an academic exercise. It's something that has been practiced over time, and you can still go back to it. Now, coming to the governors, having the local government chairmen exercising their powers and existence at the mercy of the governors. Why it's like that is because we don't have a good election system for the local governments. You see a situation whereby elections are conducted for local government, and the party in power in that state sweeps all the posts from councillor to all the chairmen. So this is a good step in the right direction, but more effort should be placed to ensure that there is full local government autonomy. That is to say, ensuring that elections that usher in the local government chairman and the councillors are free, credible, and trusted. That way, development can get to the grassroots. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Barrister Okolie. Is Dr. Kolawole there now?
Yes, I'm here.
Hello? Okay, let me go back to Honorable Opayemi. Honorable Opayemi.
Let me start.
I'm here. I'm all here.
Let's start from the point of view that it is shocking to me that the federal government took that kind of a case to all the issues that are associated with the management of the resources of the local government today, the structures of the local government today, elections or democracy at the grassroots level, at the local government level, and all that, began from under their domain. So what has led to the change of heart today, I really don't know. And as we say in law, whoever goes to equity go with a clean hand. It doesn't appear to me that those who took this case to court have a. That is my first point of departure. The second one is that when you look at the decision of the Supreme Court and all that, it would appear to me just like one of the contributors have said, to be born out of the doctrine of necessity. The Supreme Court does not want the local government to start off the way it is going. Because if the local government is not protected, the rapacious manner in which the governors are managing those local governments would eventually lead to government, would eventually lead to of the local government. And whereas you and I should know that the local government have more, even the state government, than even the federal government and all that. So when you look at chapter 1, part 2 of the Constitution, I think under section 7 there, you will see that what the Supreme Court has simply tried to do is to protect the local government from withering out.
Especially the call of like 20, let me say 10 or more councillors that are from various parties. Accord, we have councillors that are from PDP. We even have a councillor that I know that is from LP in this Lagos state, which shows that Lagos state election has been relatively, let me use the word relatively, fair to a great extent. Now, if we are now talking about the local government election, and we want to assert our independence, see, your sovereignty is what you are giving to me as an elected person. How many people within our citizenry they live in the local government? Empirical about it. Now, going to the just like my learned fellow stated, there's not, when it comes to constitutionality, it can never be academical. Don't forget that in the Nigerian Constitution, the creation of state electoral commission exists very, very prominently in our Constitution. So if at all we want to even go about that, we have to go to the National Assembly, whereby the Constitution will be amended, and maybe that INEC will be given the power to conduct the election. But it is not as we are saying that if INEC should conduct election, then there will be this El Dorado in the way we conduct election. It is not so. It is about the people who have the nostalgia at local government level to vote. It is about the of some people who feel that under most, their party must have the total control of the state. You see, the institutions are there. The players in the institution, how well, as in how sincere are they to us? How sincere are they? The players and everybody that are there, how sincere, how committed are we? These are issues that we should be talking about. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Honorable Okwayemi. I want to believe that you too would understand that Lagos may be a bit of an aberration from what prevails across the country. Local council elections have just been held in Adamawa. Local council elections have just been held in one other state of the federal. Local council chairman. Am I right about that, sir?
You are right, but I can answer you if you give me the opportunity to say something about that.
Go ahead, please.
Yeah. So, sir, winning election is about putting structures down. Lagos State will always have its ways of winning local government election, because many of the parties that are in Lagos State, they only wait every 4 years to come and conduct, participate in presidential elections, senatorial elections, House of Rep election, House of Assembly, and governor election. Once that is won, they go back and then they go and sleep. Even most of these parties that we are talking about that they won elections, many of the people who won the election were people who were aggrieved in our party, who had to use those parties as a platform to contest for elections so that they can win, and eventually they did. So the chairman winning election is about the structure that is on ground. If you don't have structure in which you are going to use in winning election, and you just wake up tomorrow and you say you want to win election, it might not be possible.
Okay, Barrister Okoli, we are coming back to my first poser to you now. Realpolitik, as explained by Honorable Okwayemi, who is a practitioner of the trade, speaks to the fact that as good as the intention of the justices of the law lords, the justices of the Supreme Court may be, at the end of the day, is a function of the point that you made so articulately. That's, how elections conducted by the state independent electoral commissions are somewhat relatively warped when juxtaposed with elections conducted by INEC. Two, your colleague, the Honorable, has also just accentuated the fact that structure, and when politicians use the word structure, they are basically talking about the enormous resources that seem always to be at the advantage of the ruling party, where the governor is the bankroller. So this pronouncement of the Supreme Court, in view of all these realities, what does it amount to? If you want to give us any form of enlightenment from your position and as a minister, as a minister in the Court of Justice, especially the Supreme Court, any form of enlightenment from you?
Okay. First, like I said before, it's a step in the right direction, but it's not the whole step. There are more steps to getting it right. And what do we do? First of all, we have to get our election system to be very okay. Our election, even the ones for National Assembly, even the ones for State Houses of Assembly, even the ones for governorship and presidential, we've not gotten them right. And it will trickle down to the local government elections. What am I trying to say? When people are done with voting for these elections, like I said before, there is a sense of disillusionment that affects them when it comes to coming out to vote for the local government council elections. And this peters off and extends to how people view the local government councils. In fact, as a matter of fact, where I live in Abuja, most often than not, we don't even feel the impact of the local governments. So it shows that for people to understand and appreciate the local government system, a lot of our institutions have to be strengthened. And what am I trying to say? The institutions that are used for elections, we are talking about the electoral commissions, we are talking about the security agencies, that is the police, the military, and the paramilitary agencies. We are talking about the individuals, those who are caught messing up with the electoral system are supposed to be punished adequately. It will serve as a deterrent. So when people know that their votes will count and their votes are actually counting, they will participate more in local government council elections, and they will hold their councillors and their chairmen. They will hold them more responsible than they will even hold their governors, because these people, these chairmen, these councillors are people that they can see on a regular basis. They attend the same church, they sit down in the same area, in fact, they possibly read at the same newspaper stands. So when you see that you can feel, you know your councillor, you know your chairman, and you can feel what they are doing, then you can give them feedback on how to get things right. And this is how development will trickle down to the average Nigerian. Thank you.
I still tend to hear you speaking to the idealism of the Constitution, how it ought to be. And for me, you seem to be deliberately speaking above the reality of what prevails. I guess maybe because you live in Abuja, because relatively in Abuja, INEC conducts local government elections in Abuja. That's number one. Number two is that Abuja does not have a peculiar political phenomenon akin to the governors at the level of the states. And most times, we have also discovered historically that the opposition parties tend to often win the local government elections in Abuja. But that's not what usually prevails at the level of the state. So I'm sitting here, sir, Barrister Okoli, this is for you again, thinking you may not be addressing the realities that instructed the litigation by the incumbent Attorney General to see for the pronouncement of the laws on the autonomy, on the financial autonomy of local governments. Am I right, or do you disagree with me?
The financial autonomy of of the local governments have been hampered a lot by governors. But I want to go back to what you said about living in Abuja. Uh, Abuja, to an extent, is how politics should be played. You hardly see a high level of political bleeding clashes and all that. Not because there are no humans in Abuja, but because there is a high level of security presence. Now, coming to the financial autonomy that you talked in your last question. First, if a governor, being the leader of a state, determines who contests what and when, there will be a lot of patronage when it comes to handing over the coffers of the local government to him, in order to ensure that at the end of the election cycle, the person is still in good books of the governor for future recommendation to other offices. But when we get our elections right, when we don't need to get blessings from personalities, from principalities, it will go a long way in ensuring that our local government system works. And as Nigerians, we really need our local government system to work, because the local government systems are the drivers of development. There is no country that is developed that their local government system, be it county or whatever terminology is called, it's not, those systems are not working. You may say that it's a bit of idealism, but before things got worse to this level, I know for a fact, because I lived in Imo State during that time, I know for a fact that local government elections were better contested, better handled than they are being handled now. It's just an erosion of values in our institutions that is making the local government elections to look like a bile, where the ruling party has been granted by to determine who gets what and all that. You see an election having 90% return in favor of the ruling party, no matter how bad the party must have fared at the state level, they are still accepted. And when you talk about structure, finally, when you talk about structure, structure can be good or bad. Where people are being attacked when they go for rallies and all that, all in the name of you don't have structure or you don't have backup and whatever terminology is used, it deters the good people from coming into politics. So structure, like is being said, can be a structure of criminality, can be a structure of fomenting trouble or creating an unrest that will scare people away. And scaring people away from the political process is a form of rigging, is a form of electoral malpractice. And we need to arrest all these malpractices in order to move forward as a society. Thank you.
Honorable Okwayemi, are you still there, sir?
Very well, very well.
With a degree of humility from my side, I want to submit to you, I want to humbly submit that Lagos is the perfect example, or Lagos is the perfect example that speaks to the vacuity, the academic nature of the pronouncement of the Supreme Court. Why am I saying that? There are only 20 constitutionally recognized local government authorities in Lagos. And yet, realpolitik-wise, empirically and practically, there are 57 contraptions reflective of local governance in Lagos. And within the context of the reality in Lagos, even if funds were to come from the federation account to the 20 constitutionally recognized LGAs, the chairman of those LGA cannot afford to want to assert holding to them, because there must be a peculiar arrangement for those funds to be shared by the LCDAs that were birthed from the 20. And here we are talking about financial autonomy when no local government chairman in a peculiar scenario like Lagos, like Osun, like some other states where FCDAs have been created, dare ever say they want to hold on to any fund coming directly from the federation account to the purse of the local government authority if they want to still be in politics. Honorable Opayemi, as a Lagos politician, an elected officer of a local government entity, how would you respond to that?
First and foremost, I want to ask you, sir, as you have said, that 20 local governments are recognized within the in the constitution. Are you telling me that the areas within the 37 LCDs are not anywhere in the map of Nigeria? Or are they not part? Sorry, I'm coming bit by bit. Are they not part of those 20 local governments in their various areas of demarcations?
Do
One.
we, Honorable Opayemi?
Yes, sir.
Do we or can we agree that when the funds are emanating, when the funds are coming from the federation account, going to Lagos for under the heading of local government funds, they will only go to 20 entities? Do we agree on that?
I'm not going to speak to that because I'm not the Attorney General of Lagos State. So I have limitations where I can answer questions. Being a public servant, so I won't be able to answer that on here. But what I know is this: one, don't forget that the Supreme Court, by its judgment made far back in 2005, recognizes that there are 37 LCDs in Lagos State. And it is still the same Supreme Court that has given a judgment that, okay, go and pay money directly to the local governments. Now, I know lawyers when they want to play with words. The issue of whether an LCDA or a local government should be part of the payment has not arose at all. People are the ones bringing it up for public discussion and things like that. So it is now meant for the people who are professionals in the learned field to take it up and ask of, okay, what implication does it have to do with what is on ground? But we must understand one thing. There's no reason why we should paint something that is black, then we paint it purple. The LCDAs that we are talking about has been in existence as part of those 20 local governments. They deserve rights to enjoy from those allocations in any way, in any form, because they are part of the development. And also, I still maintain my ground that a process that has been successful, even more than the existing local governments that you are talking about, that has been successful, that has been existing, that has been functioning in every way in which an ideal local government should perform, should not be jettisoned in any manner or in any form. What we should be talking about moving forward now is how those 37 local governments, if you want to talk about it, when many states created the LCDs and General Obasanjo came out that he's not going to accept it, it was only Lagos State that stood its ground. And today, the story is a success story. I can tell you, as a councillor, just to go back to what my brother talked about, it is not every local government that you don't feel the impact. For example, I can boast of what I have done in my own ward. I can tell you of projects that I've done. I can tell you of what our governor, Sanwo-Olu, has made all the councillors in the 57 local governments to go and do in their various wards as ward projects. I can tell you rhetorically that there is an instruction given by the Speaker of Lagos State that every year a councillor must have 2 ward projects being done at the various wards. These are impacts.
Okay, Honorable Opayemi, I can really empathize with you because in many respects, you are speaking to an idealism of what should be, which in a peculiar way you believe is happening in Lagos. But I can also authoritatively tell you that when funds are leaving the Federation account coming to Lagos, only 20 local government authorities are recognized. I know that because of the peculiar nature of Lagos, having all the 57 chairmen belonging to a particular party, the understanding to distribute the money in such a way that it speaks to equity amongst the LGAs and the LCDAs is a fantastic contraption. As a Lagosian myself, I am happy as a Lagosian who also believes that Lagos ought to have gotten more than 20 LGAs, and indeed there should be a mechanism that should recognize the LDAs. I feel you, but my brother, reality is reality. When those funds are leaving Federation account, they are coming just to 20 designated addresses.
I agree with you.
That takes me to the barrister now. I'll come back to you. We still have an opportunity. Barrister Okolie. Now, yes. Just like I had earlier stated to you, that we may be speaking to idealism at the expense of reality, I need to take you in another direction now. Governor Makinde is of the opinion that we have an aberrative federalism or an aberrative federation. That in all the federations that he knows, there are only 2 entities, central and federating units. That the situation in Nigeria is peculiar and that it is robbing the states the benefit of effectively administering its territory. That the local government, that the federal government is becoming a meddlesome interloper in how the states govern themselves, wanting to use the local government authorities as a disruptive force when ordinarily the federal government should be facing the challenges of righting all the enormous wrongs of the economy. What will be your response to that from Governor Makinde?
Respectfully, I disagree with the governor on these grounds. First, the economy cannot move further if we don't get our governance right. And our governance starts from the local government system. First, public health care centers are supposed to be the sole preserve of local governments.
You mean primary health care centers, PSCs?
Yes.
Yes, I agree with you.
A lot of them are not functioning well because the local governments are not functioning. Most of the local governments are not functioning. So whatever that is happening at the local government level, it affects the common man in the streets, and it in turn radios back to the economy. Now, another angle where I disagree with him is that in the United States of America, for example, you have the federal government that is at Washington, D.C., then you have the states, and then you have the districts. And they all work hand in hand together. No one is interloping or overshadowing the other. They have their duties spelled out and they carry it effectively. Like I said before, you have counties in the United Kingdom. Even in Switzerland, you have canyons. Most of these countries don't even have states. What they have is the federal government and the local authorities, because they understand that development, economy, whatever good indices cannot go well without the input of the local government councils. Whatever, no matter the affiliation or the name it bears, but the impact of the local government councils can never be overemphasized because
just an observation that I want you to take away and verify outside this program. The Constitution of the United States of America recognizes the Federation as a relationship between Washington and the states. Counties are formed at the expense of the state in America. They are not recognized constitutionally as a third tier of government. In Switzerland, as you have alluded to, the federation is between the center and the cantons. There is nothing that defines a third tier at the level of the cantons as a result of what Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu proved when he was governor of Lagos. It should be incumbent on the states for effective governance to dynamically adjust local government structures with a view to making sure that people are effectively served. So we need to get those facts straight. Honorable Opayemi.
Yes, sir.
Your concluding remarks, given the fact that we are where we are now, and it does seem that Lagos, the father of modern Lagos, is the incumbent president. He was the governor who pioneered the machinations of creating extra-constitutional entities for effective governance at the local government level. And yet, this judgment is coming during his era as the president, and Lagos is in the peculiar form or shape that it is in now. What say ye to a political like you functioning in an entity that is part of the 37 created, that is not totally recognized by the Constitution?
First and foremost, what I know about our president is that he has always believed in the local government system working. And that was the reason why he felt that 20 local government was not effective for Lagos State when he brought about the ideas of creating 37 LCDs along with the 20 local governments. Presently now, we know what is going on, what is trending in our country: insecurity, food insecurity here and there. Sir, if we want security in our land, the local government system must work. And I'm sure the man who knows where to put and how to remove is the man that is there. He understands that if we are talking about security, we must be sincere with the ideal way in which the local government must be run. Because why do I say so? If in my area, there are going to be, if we want to know where the bad boys are, if insecurity will start, it will start from the ward. The councillor of the ward would understand that, okay, so some guys are gathering there, and there can be a cry out. And that's why Lagos is working. Every month, we always have a police peace and security meeting at the local government level, where all the security households will be represented. And then we talk about where areas where there are possible security threat, and actions are taken immediately. But in local governments whereby they are locked, maybe once in every week, they come in and they just do what they want to do, they go. How do you expect that security will be effective there? And these are the things that this man understands. That if you want to talk, sorry, sir, before I finish, sir, if you want to talk about food insecurity, the local government can actually facilitate to see how agriculture can be successfully manifested in the nations. For example, if you give every local government chairman a mandate that look, you must have, each local government must be ready to have a farmland whereby they produce one or two things. You can imagine how food insecurity will be taken off. So what I'm trying to say is that, but Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu understands that local government is the main.
My brother, don't let's speak idealism. Reality is that in many of the metropolitan LCDAs and local government areas of Lagos, daily people are robbed on the streets. They have councillors in those streets. You know, people are robbed in traffic.
You that question, sir.
And you don't even have the land. Let me give your colleague the opportunity to wrap up.
So can you just, so that you see, if there are anybody that are robbed, the robbers most times don't get scot-free. Let me give you, there was the time during the EndSARS riot, the guys who in my area went to cut away these properties in the.
I'm not talking about EndSARS. I'm talking of normal days.
No, I'm just
normal days.
The boys who carted away with the properties, I went to their houses to collect it and return it back to the police. What I'm trying to say is that we know the bad boys. We know ourselves. We are the major.
Then it's about time. Then it's about time. Councillors and chairmen got more effective, because I'm basically telling you now that we daily hear of reports of bad boys functioning seemingly at large on some of the arterial roads of Lagos, and they seem to be getting away with it, my brother. Reality in Mumbai, so.
Yeah, because what you are saying, sir, what I'm saying, the insecurity is different from criminality. See, there's nowhere, even in America, as we think it should be, there are some criminalities. But see, insecurity is when you have, see, insecurity will eventually come when there's.
Let me let your colleague also have his closing shot.
Okay, sir.
Barrister Okolie, your closing shot, please.
I believe that the local government system has to be revitalized, has to be get to a stage where it will be working. The common man can feel it. That way, it's the only way that we can get Nigeria right on the right track. That is the way we can solve a lot of the issues bedeviling our country. I agree to an extent with Honorable Bayemi. Security is a local issue. The local government, if they are working, they will work well to ensure that security in that local government is optimized. Healthcare should be a local government issue, at least at the level of primary healthcare centers. Education is equally something that the local government should handle, because they know where the schools are, they know how the schools are.
Master Okolie, I have to wrap it up at this juncture. I understand you. I fully agree with you and Opayemi on the idealism of some of the points you are making. But you will agree with me, Barrister Okolie, that if security should be the primary responsibility of the local councillors and the chairmen and the state governors, we have a peculiar federation where all agencies bearing arms are answerable to one man only at the center. The governor's ability, and the chairman and councillors like Opayemi's ability to deploy the powers of coercion to control criminality in their in their constituencies are limited. You see, that is why some of us want to believe that the pronouncement of the Supreme Court, the intendment is good, but the reality is that it is academic. Thank you, gentlemen, for gracing the show. We look forward to having you some other time. Time is far spent. Thank you.
Thank you very much. God bless you. Thank you.
I want to say thank you to you, members of the
Thank you
audience.
very much.
Wrap it up for today. My name is Steve.
It is engagement we need to have.
Those who suffer miscarriages are never taken into account.
Members of the National Assembly are also influence peddlers.
You are sitting on Nigerians' money.
From the Babin, I pay my rent. On the Babin, I send my children to school.
A consultative engagement.
No any tangible notification before they ban us.
It's one thing for people to be at your back and the heat of the moment, and another thing for them to still be with you when push comes to shove.
Hello there, my name is Akim Adebayo, and here is my good old days story. Once upon a time, this barrack boy had the rare privilege of attending military schools both at the primary and secondary school levels, where paramilitary activities were combined with quality education at next to no cost. I was that young boy who grew up in a nation bound by love, peace, and serendipity, a country where all that was of paramount interest to us as kids was to walk to school, attend assembly, sing in chorus to the national anthem, and pledging to our great country Nigeria to be faithful, loyal, and honest. Growing up in the midst of people of different tribes, religion, and educational background, we had a thing in common. We were all bonded by the calmness, yet disciplined military atmosphere. Those were the days when we make promises to our parents and we strive to fulfill those promises. In my case, I routinely made a promise and vowed to come first in my class at the end of each term, a promise I could fulfill only once. But the commitment to attend that vow was always an inspiration. Mere thought of calling my name and inviting me out for presentation of gifts before my classmates during prize giving day was a continuous driving force for me to always want to be at my best. Those were the good virtuous days when there were healthy rivalries, unjaundiced academic competition amongst students. How can I forget the numerous handwritten letters and postcards to friends and family? A visit to and fro the post office was always memorable, as you were excited with the suspense of getting a letter from the post office box and ahead of time. Hazard guesses on where, who the sender could have been. Oh, I remember with nostalgia our mail box, P.O. Box 219, Ipaja Post Office. That was the magic number. Can you recall yours? I wonder if that medium is still as potent as they were then, not with the advent of social media and smartphones. I equally recall those days when the sound of my dad's Peugeot 504 saloon car was a timely warning for comportment, a time to be well behaved and show your homeworks one after the other. It was a time to watch the famous NTA Channel 7 Tejo Show News and summarize the content of the day's newspaper to the man of the house, my father. God help you if the content of those newspapers were not fully digested and accurately summarized. Those were the days when we were taught to be abreast of events in our dear country. To what extent can we say today our children are very current on happenings in our country? I ask. I recall those days, those good days when holidays were times to bond with cousins and uncles, when it was as much fun to go to a cousin in the village and it was for another cousin to pay us a visit and spend the holiday with us in the city. Life then was modest and humble. Such moments to behold were those when my grannies would call me only by my native pet name. And this was always followed by a rendition of the family's panegyrics, known as Oriki in Yoruba. It was always an emotional trigger. The call of Ajani was all I always desired to hear, and would be eager to run errands without getting tired. What a time. How I dream in wishes that few of these moments be brought back and a slice of it granted to the current generation to taste. How can we change the narratives by working towards providing a greater future for the upcoming generation? Instead of reveling on the glorious past, we can do it. Ajani desires a brighter future laced with the solid foundation of the glorious past. Today, I equally identify with Sir Shemore Badijo in his desire to bring back all that is good about our past, with a view to redirecting our paths towards a greater future, not only for us, but the upcoming generation. I remain sincerely yours, Ajani.
Hello and welcome. I am Justin Akadonia and this is the news update on Plus TV Africa. The Economic Community of West African State, ECOWAS, has allocated at least $13 million to bolster counter-terrorism efforts in frontline state and shore up humanitarian aid in the region. The regional bloc also revealed it is exploring additional funding options for its $2.6 billion standby force. This information was shared by Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu, who serves as the chairman of the ECOWAS Authority of Heads of State and Government, as part of a one-year report highlighting the bloc's achievements and challenges at the 6th Media Coordination Meeting of the African Union in Accra, Ghana. Now, Tinubu's statement, as relayed by his special advisor on media and publicity, Ajuri Ngelale, further noted that ECOWAS has allocated $9 million to assist refugees, internally displaced persons, and asylum seekers. Additionally, the frontline member states in the fight against terrorism have received $4 million in support under the ECOWAS counter-terrorism humanitarian response. Now, the ECOWAS chairman also announced that the regional bloc will soon convene a special extraordinary session to discuss its future, including ongoing talks with estranged member states such as Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso. Meantime, the Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetokun, has distanced himself from a circulating WhatsApp message that discourages nationwide protests planned for early August. Earlier reports had highlighted a screenshot of an alleged WhatsApp message from the IGP which discouraged protests in Lagos State. However, in a statement issued on Sunday night by the force public relations officer, ACP Olumuyiwa Adejobi, the IGP clarified that the purported message did not originate from the police. The statement asserted that the message, which posed various questions and opinions about the protest, did not represent the views of the Nigeria Police Force. The IGP sternly warned that the spread of misinformation, disinformation, and fake news or mischievous recycled contents are criminal acts punishable under the cybercrime law. Now, a federal high court in Abuja has dismissed a lawsuit filed by the family of the late head of state, General Sani Abacha, against the federal government. The family had challenged the revocation of the former military ruler's property located in the Tama district of Abuja. In his judgment, Justice Peter Lifo cited several grounds for dismissing the suit, which was filed 9 years time of in 2015, and the plaintiffs lacking the legal standing to bring the case. The lawsuit was filed by General Abacha's The defendants named in the suit were the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, the Federal Capital Development Authority, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and Salamet Ventures Limited. Now, this marks the fourth time The Abacha family has lost legal battles over the disputed property in court. They had previously lost twice at the High Court of the Federal Capital Territory and once at the Court of Appeal in Abuja on grounds of jurisdiction. The Federal High Court in Abuja has declined to bar Governor Siminalayi Fubara from spending government funds, while a lawsuit filed by the Rivers State House of Assembly, led by Martin Amewole, is pending. In a ruling on the ex parte motion, Justice Emeka Nwite refused to grant the plaintiff's request, though he ordered them to put the defendants on notice. However, the judge did grant the motion to allow the plaintiffs to serve the 5th to 10th defendant, including the governor, the accountant general of Rivers State, and the State Independent Electoral Commission by substituted means. The court adjourned the matter to August 7th to hear the substantive motion. The plaintiffs in the suit are the Rivers State House of Assembly and Martin Amewole, represented by Joseph Daudu, SAN. The defendants include the Central Bank of Nigeria, Zenith Bank, Access Bank, and the Accountant General of the Federation. This ruling comes after Governor Fubara recently vowed to remain upright and not to govern the state on bended knees despite political pressures. Now, reactions have continued to trail the Supreme Court verdict, which granted fiscal autonomy to the 774 local government areas, with various stakeholders canvassing measures to ensure effective implementation of the ruling. There are also fears in some quarters that local government chairmen may be unable to manage the freedom, just as others raise concerns that the governors may remain in control through the back door. However, the president of the Association of Local Government of Nigeria, ALGAN, Ma'azu Meifata, said the judgment would usher in general turnaround in the development of the rural areas. Meifata, who expressed happiness with the Supreme Court ruling, sought the upward review of the monthly allocation to the 774 local government councils in the country. He said the judgment had secured the future of local government, stressing that Nigerians and some state governors have accepted the verdict. Now, eminent Ibadan indigents, including high-ranking traditional title holders, have been mounting pressure on the Otun Olubadan of Ibadan land, High Chief Rashidi Ladoja, to accept beaded crown as a monarch instead of being recognized as High Chief in order to de-escalate tension surrounding the subject. Now, the immediate past Olubadan of Ibadan land, the late Oba Lekon Balogun, presented crown to some members of the Olubadan Advisory Council, which Ladoja declined. Now, Ladoja had submitted that the only crown acceptable to him is that of the Olubadan of Ibadan land. He later instituted a legal action which was later withdrawn to facilitate the installation of the Oba Owolabi Olakunleyin as the 43rd Olubadan of Ibadan land. However, the issue has not been laid to rest, especially with the new Gazette on Ascension to the throne of Olubadan that only recognizes the crowned Obas as bona fide successors to the throne. Now, Enugu State Governor Peter Mba has condemned Simon Ekpa, the Finland-based leader of the Autopilot Group, as a businessman exploiting the emotions and suffering of the Igbo people. Mba urged the people of the southeast region to disregard Ekpa's threats and seat at home orders. Mba also expressed displeasure over the Finnish government's continued harboring of Ekpa, even as many lives and properties have been lost due to the alleged actions of his supporters.
Our people are known for hard work. That's it. That's who we are. That is in our DNA. That's our civic habits. We enjoy working hard. And this man sits somewhere and says he loves the Igbo and dictate to us not to go to work. Okay, so I want to also take this opportunity to call on our people to disregard this threat, disregard him and his threat, right? We have demonstrated our capacity to provide security for our people, and we will continue to do so.
We are the true representative of people, and we are working day and night, and there is nothing as a palliative that can solve the problem. That's why we are here, to assess the level of security, interact with His Excellency. If all governors across the nation and leaders will emulate his plans, what he is trying to do, and what he have done so far in Enugu within 360 days, people will go back to farm, and going back to farm will entail peace, security, and stability. Without peace, there is no famine. Without famine, hunger is imminent. So therefore, I think the Renewed Hope agenda and the entire program, particularly what is happening in Enugu, is something that we will all say is Uhuru, and then we are calling on other governors to emulate him.
Now to other parts of the continent, the African Union has convened in Ghana to address issues related to African integration and to establish a unified stance before engaging with the G20 and the United Nations. With ongoing regional instability in West Africa, ECOWAS nations Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso risk losing their memberships due to military coups that ousted democratically elected leaders in these countries. Now, these nations have been under threat from terrorist organizations affiliated with Al-Qaeda and the Islamic State for years. Mauritania's president and current African Union chair, Mohamed Cheikh Ghazouani, urged for the acceleration of the African integration process. He stressed the importance of expediting economic integration to support the continent and fulfill the aspirations of African citizens. Well, moving outside the continent now, the Republican Party in the United States is preparing a new presidential campaign strategy following President Joe Biden's announcement that he will not be running for re-election in 2024. Biden dropped out of the race on Sunday, ending his bid after a debate with Donald Trump that raised doubts about the incumbent's fitness. The unexpected announcement made less than 4 months before the election has upended a campaign that both parties view as pivotal. Republican House Speaker Mike Johnson called for Biden's immediate resignation, stating that November 5 cannot arrive soon enough. With Biden out, Trump and the GOP must now shift their focus to a new opponent after years of training their attention on the incumbent. Aliko Dangote, the president of the Dangote Group, has revealed that a friend who previously cautioned him against investing in Nigeria is now mocking him for disregarding that advice. Dangote shared this during an interview on Sunday, just as report quoted the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority, claiming that diesel from the Dangote refinery is of inferior quality. Dangote stated that he invested in the refinery to help address a major issue in the country, expressing bewilderment at why some individuals are working against him. The $19 billion, 650,000 barrel per day refinery, which became operational last year after a decade of protracted construction, is more than double the initial estimate. It promises to help wean Africa's largest oil producer off its dependence on imported fuel and save up to 30% of the total foreign exchange spent on importing goods. And that's the news update. I am Justin Akadonye. Many thanks for watching.
I will take you through this amazingness today.
Welcome to Plus Trending. I am Bukky November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on Plus TV Africa.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.
Child protection is an ancient, long-standing problem which has gained the attention of the international, national, state, and local communities, with governments, international donor agencies on the forefront of a high-profile commission to eradicate it. The unique dynamics of child sexual abuse is such that it's often committed in secrecy with only the victim and the perpetrator as witnesses. And it's a crime that is very difficult to detect. And it takes a long time before the abusers, before the crime is revealed. And the grooming strategies of the pedophiles include, number one, engagement of the child, overcoming the child's resistance, inculcating secrecy into the child, intimidating the child, suppressing the child to maintain control over the child. There are 5 key steps you need to know as an adult, as an educator, to be able to provide child protection to any child within your vicinity. Number one, you need to learn the facts. Child sexual abuse can be contactual or non-contactual. It can involve actual defilement. It can involve exhibitionism, touching a child inappropriately, or exposing the child to pornography. And you need to know the different ways children disclose. They can disclose to you directly if they trust you, but even in that, they may not give you the full details. Then there could be accidental disclosure in normal day-to-day conversation. Then there can be indirect disclosure. The child may pretend that it happens to another child because he's ashamed, he or she is ashamed and should be shamed and should be blamed. And then you need to reduce the opportunity for it to occur. You don't leave children alone physically or digitally. These days the world has turned to a global village. You need to monitor their internet spaces. You need to know about digital empathy as an educator. A child may be innocently browsing to do the homework, and the pornographic site may drop in, and the child will be ashamed to seek for help, which may traumatize the child. Then you need to know children's digital footprint. You may give your child a name and get another name online, on Facebook, TikTok, on Instagram. And then you need to know how to talk about a sex education. You don't wait for a child to be grown. From age 2, you tell the children about their private parts. Call it the way it is. Tell the boy, this is your penis. Tell the girl, this is your vagina. Don't call it wee wee bum bum. Don't give it names, because a lot of children will be taken advantage of. And then you know these pedophiles, they crack risky jokes and say, my wife, they dabble into favoritism. They can be treating the child as an adult. Then you need to reduce the opportunity for it to occur. You need to learn the signs. There are short-time signs like bruises, wounds, rashes in the mouth and the genital areas. You see teenage pregnancy, unwanted pregnancy. You see sexually transmitted infection. But the long-term consequences that schools of thought and adverse childhood experiences is what is affecting the nation as a whole. It's the children that have been abused that did not receive help, that are in conflict with themselves, with the society. You see suicidal addiction, you see depression, you see poor interpersonal relationship skills, poor academic performance, occupational failures, compulsive eating disorders, hormonal imbalance, infertility. You see depression, post-traumatic stress disorders. And above all, you need to know how to react responsibly. If a child confides in you, you don't react vehemently. You don't go and confront the perpetrator. Otherwise, you contaminate evidence or endanger yourself. You need to know about the Lagos State government witness protection policy. You need to instill confidence in the child. Tell the child, thank you for telling me. Psychological first aid. I'm sorry this happened to you, but I need to help you. And you don't ever promise a child, I will not tell anybody. But you need to tell the child, number one, we need to get you medical attention for medical treatment and evaluation. And number 2, you need psychosocial support because you are traumatized and none of any families are traumatized. And then we need to inform law enforcement, the police, because pedophiles are criminals. Their security risks, they need to be taken off the street. They will not pose dangers to other children. Access to justice is part of the healing therapy. And if both parents are not able to support the child, let the child know you need shelter services, safety plans. You need to be relocated from the offending environment to regain your sense of safety. We have the very first children's telecommunication number, 0800 801, through which children can call to receive professional counseling, information, care, emergency intervention, and referral pathways. The Lagos State government is committed to ensuring child protection. We have the Quality Assurance Department of Ministry of Education. If it happens in school, we have the Ministry of Youth and Social Development, who are interested in the welfare of the children for placement in shelters, and orphanages. We have the prosecutorial unit, the Office of the Director of Public Prosecution. We have the Domestic and Sexual Violence Agency, with a formidable interagency collaboration among all the agencies. Our belief is that adults are responsible for protecting children, not children protecting themselves. Children cannot protect themselves because of their cognitive and vulnerability. And there's no way a child can give his or her consent to sex, and there should be no shaming and blaming. Parents who don't have time to listen or to take care of their children are guilty of child neglect, which is an offense, and it opens the door for pedophiles because there are no benchmarks or indices to identify a pedophile. Pedophiles' strategies include earning the trust and respect of parents. If a child is hungry, they offer food. If a child is lonely, they offer companionship. They are like the wild animals in the safari who will study the children to look for a loophole in that life of that children, fill that loophole to maintain control over the child. Some even blame the child, it's your fault. It can never be a child's fault. And a child is anyone under 18 years of age. It doesn't matter if she's already in the university or she's big or whatever. Every child needs protection. Every child is important. Not just our biological children, not just our students, even our domestic staff. They need to be protected. Defilement is life imprisonment, sexual assault by penetration. It's about 7 years. We have a range. Touching appropriately, we have 1 to 1 year, 3 years, depending on the offense that can be established. But the rock bottom is that child sexual abuse is unacceptable and it is preventable. No longer should we allow perpetrators to go on with impunity. And no single agency can do it alone. We need interagency collaboration, the support of community-based organizations, religious and traditional rulers, all to ensure child protection.
Urinary tract infection is simply infection of the urinary tract. So the body is divided into systems. And of course, you have, just like you have the digestive system, neurologic system, you have the urinary tract or the urinary system, which is made up of the kidneys, the ureter, the bladder, and the urethra. Okay, these 4 parts form the urinary system. Any infection in any part of the system is what we simply call the urinary tract infection. Basically, every infective organism can cause urinary tract infection. The most common ones are your bacteria, your fungi, and viruses. You have virus infections that can cause urinary tract infection. You have fungi that can cause, especially in immunocompromised individuals. For an example, people on high levels of suppressants, immunosuppressants, or high levels of chemotherapies, or patients who have come down with retroviral infections. Then, in very common cases, are bacterial infections that cause urinary tract infection, which are the common ones that we see. So you have things like Streptococcus, you have things like H. influenza, you have things like E. coli. In worst cases, you have Klebsiella, and of course, all of these bacteria can actually cause urinary tract infection. When they affect the different levels of the body, they have their different symptoms. So some of them get as far as the kidneys, cause things like pyelonephritis, and it further goes down to damaging symptoms. Okay, so it can be caused by bacteria, fungi, viruses are the commonest one. Protozoas can also cause it, and sometimes worms infections. 5 major steps actually preventing urinary tract infections. Number 1 is maintaining a good hygiene. Hygiene has been seen to be implicated in urinary tract infections, and if you are not very careful with, especially with the underwears, you can recurrently cause urinary tract infection. And then, of course, with the areas of sanitation, the restrooms are very implicative. And even in, partners, sexual partners, sometimes you may need to be very cautious. Okay, so basically hygiene. Oftentimes you see ladies not properly, use their underwears, or sometimes they don't even use it or properly wash. So it's usually recommended that they wash recurrently with maybe a hypo, a sanitizer, as it were, or a jig, a detergent, and sometimes even iron. Okay, the reason for iron is to give the heat if you don't want to discard completely. All right. Other prevention mechanisms includes proper dieting. Okay. When we eat right, we prevent a lot of things. Sometimes when we do a lot of sugar, you provide a habitable environment for these microbes to grow. All right. A lot of sugar. Yeah. Sometimes we even think that high protein diets are very effective, but no, you further even provide, because you see, in improper dieting, you alter the pH of the body. This pH of the body is what is responsible for the maintaining a proper environment that organisms does not grow. When you distort it, certain organisms now begin to thrive in places where they're not supposed to thrive. A third thing is water, hydration, good level of hydration, okay, keeps us consistently cleansed out. The fourth one is, it's been said that especially in women, they ought to clean from front to back. Rather, yes, from front to back, not from back to front. Okay, that's the proper way of cleaning. And then there's been some drinks that have been used in, especially berry drinks, cranberry drinks, have been very effective in the GI. So if you have drinks that have the cranberry or berry nectar, you have a good chance of preventing it. Some other ways of preventing: regular testing, you can prevent your urinary tract infections. Yeah. The symptoms of urinary tract infections includes a recurrent urge to want to use the restroom. You have that recurrent, and sometimes it could be very little amount of urine that could come out. You could have burning sensation in the process of urinating. You could have, itchiness. You could have cloudy urine. Sometimes discolored urine that could either be red or dark coke colored and all that. And then one other thing, pain, especially lower abdominal pain. One of the classical symptoms, lower abdominal pain. For men, you could see, of course, some burning sensations on trying to urinate. Usually not so much. And then they could also have discharge, but that happens more with sexually transmitted infections. Now, the point about improper treatment, especially in females, is that it's responsible for high levels of infertility when it's not properly treated. The bad part of urinary tract infection is that it takes a quiet stage and right there in the body, and many people walk away, especially guys, especially men. They feel that they're good, and so it takes a quiet stage, and then over time, it's the cause of, or they become transmitters. Then the women eventually are the ones who come down with the symptoms, but they or never come down with the symptoms at all, and then life is good. The treatment plan for urinary tract infections can last for more than 2 weeks. It's important that you do not prescribe or you do not recommend yourself many of these roadside drugs that people do, especially when you hear things like Staph aureus and stuff. No, none of that is just very unacceptable. In the treatment of urinary tract infections, you get tested first and you get drugs that are sensitive to these infections. Now, for some reasons, when adequate doses of these drugs are not taken, especially to completion, like I said to you, many times the treatment could last for as much as 2 weeks because of the level for where they are. The urinary tract infection is one of the lowest parts of the body. All right. So you have to do that long. If you don't do that, you begin to grow resistant strains of these microbes, and then you have to do it again and again. But the next time you're coming back to hit it, you don't get the same response like you got the first time. So it's important that whenever you're going to get treated, you treat for a very long time, and as much as 2 weeks, sometimes injections first, and then you complete the dosage with a couple of tablets that are sensitive to the organism. Whenever there is recurrence of urinary tract infection, it's important that you pay attention to hygiene. Check hygiene levels very importantly, and that simply means that you may want to discard all underwears and replace them. Have proper baths. Just pay more attention. Number one, you never treat urinary tract infections without trying to treat your partner. It's important that you check out your partner, especially when it is one partner. Okay, if there's multiple partners, you just have to do something about that. All right. Okay, but then you want to also pay attention to your partner. The second and the third important thing is to check your fluid balance and all the other exogenous things you take. Now, when you're treating with the drugs, I recommend that you do injections first and then you do orals. Many times orals don't get as deep and as far as what injections will do. So even when you see sensitivity for certain drugs, you want to try the injections first. For me, I practice for 5 days minimum. And then subsequently, the books sometimes say up to 7 days. All right. And you do, subsequently you do the injections. When you do that, you get a better result because of the penetrating capacity of injections compared to tablets.
Hello and welcome to Plus Events, your #1 diary show that brings you the best and biggest events to your screen. I am Uyime Elijah, and on today's show we have 2 interesting events that you would absolutely enjoy. First, party planners, event managers celebrate Network for Growth. It was a time of networking, Thanksgiving and share fun when members of the Association of Professional Party Organizers and Event Managers of Nigeria converged in Lagos for the 3rd edition of Owambe tagged Funkified. The annual event brings stakeholders in the industry to unwind, reflect on past years and projects for the future. Plus TV crew was there to bring you all the beautiful moments. Let's look at this video. We'll be right back.
Scintillating scenery, great music, energetic dancing, and magical moments. It is the 3rd edition of Owambe, simply put, Owambe 3.0. Tagged Funkified, stakeholders in the party planning and event management industry gather here for the sole reason to enjoy same great moments they gave to their clients. Magic and sheer excitement encapsulate the ambient here. Members of the association with their kith and kin are treated to a lot of fun and sweet memories that will not go away in a hurry. So as the evening hits on, guests present are reminded of the journey so far.
Just to let loose and lose our own feelings at some point.
It's a time for us to unwind, to taste what other people we have been giving to other people. So you can see us. It will soon be so groovy that we enjoy the moment.
Event management has emerged over the past decade as a dynamic sector of the tourism and leisure industries. The number, diversity and popularity of events have also grown throughout this period. With 2023 gone and 2024 getting fired on, what trends and glamour should Nigerians expect from these set of people who provide them with indelible memories? Plus TV crew gets up close to some of the key players to find out more.
Fast becoming a global village. So whatever is obtainable anywhere in the world would have to be obtainable here too, as Nigerian event stakeholders. So we don't even want to say we're made in Nigeria. We're going to be global brands, but created in Nigeria.
Our point, we're trendsetters, we're pace setters. We are, everything setters in the industry. So all I can say is watch out.
Without a doubt, the event and creative industry has come to stay in Nigeria, and the country is taking the world by storm. Notwithstanding the current economic realities, active players are finding innovative ways to thrive.
And what you look for is a situation where the professional event planners, which is what this organization is about, if you're a professional event planner, you look at all the militating issues that you have. Retool, repackage yourself. In business, it's not when prices go up that you must necessarily put up your prices. You can actually hang in there, let people notice the difference you're making.
Seriously affecting us in the industry because bringing things from China is not an easy thing now. So what we have is what we maintain. If you maintain what you have from there, what we pray for is the exchange rate to come down.
Parties and events bring colors and smiles to faces of people. The stakeholders are careful to ensure qualitative standards, knowing that the barriers to gaining entry into the business is not much. With some support from relevant authorities, they believe that the year 2024 and beyond will be resounding with great memories and joy.
Because our back-end processes now we have to spend more money on our back-end processes. And so we look for creative ways to actually cut costs without cutting corners, and so that's a whole lot of brain work, to deal with. So, but we keep at it because we're not going to rest, and that's why we're creative professionals.
If we have not changed the event industry, you won't see people here. So we are leaders. APWEM is the place to be. We are transforming spaces, doing a lot of marvelous things, and being the leader, people are following us.
On the whole, I can say it's been exciting for us. We've been able to introduce wellness and healthy eating, even while people are partying, and for us, that's a very big plus.
The Owambe 3.0 and other editions leads the party planners and event managers with sweet tales to be remembered, just as they have committed to always raising the bar and setting their place and pace with innovation and dedication.
Nigeria and indeed Africa have been advised to use indigenous languages as the basis for instructing students and learning in schools, as it is the panacea to tackling non-colonialism and national development. This advice was handed down during a public presentation of The First Language, Our Hope, Ideas Towards a Greater Africa, authored by Solomon Atala. Let's look at this video. We'll be right back.
Africa remains generally underdeveloped compared with the rest of the world. This author, Solomon Atala, believes that the main reason for the poor report is the continent's education, which is on the wrong pedestal in foreign languages.
Africa must be modern. That's the name of the book. Somehow, I simply wrote down the name and the title. Please, a round of applause. Celebrate, a round of applause.
At this public presentation of The First Language, Our Home, Solomon Atala is pushing strongly for the return to using the mother tongue from the elementary level. He encapsulated in this reference book, which advocates on prioritizing the African culture for the continent to take its true place among the Committee of Nations. The reviewer shares similar sentiments.
It has been, it's what we all know, that outside of the African continent, the first languages are used for education and governance. And that is the reason behind the height they have attained. But as they have attained this height by Second Industrial Revolution, they imposed their own languages on the entire of Africa.
Germans write in German, Japanese write in Japanese, Russians write in Russian, but Africans write in Arabic, they write in English, they write in French, they write in Portuguese. Okay. These days you also have people who are proud to tell you they can't speak their native tongues. They can't speak Yoruba, or they can't speak Igbo, or they can't speak Hausa.
Just how soon can this renaissance be seen? Other concerns are raised about building the capacity of teachers who will instruct in indigenous African languages. This is just as the author and reviewer believe that originality is lost when teaching or translating in foreign languages.
Even in my days then, don't speak vernacular. If you speak vernacular, you were penalized. So it is not just the mothers and fathers of today. That is how they programmed us. And they wanted us to remain under their feet. Mama, I don't think that's what I think we want to put a stop to.
You have to start encouraging people to take an interest in African studies, let me put it that way, and African languages. So when you have people who are trained, especially teachers, and it's not just at the university level, you understand, because it is the foundation that matters. So our educational policy planners, okay, should first create laws, okay, that will emphasize mother tongue education right from nursery and primary school.
The author concludes that Africa is not modern because the continent has not used its first languages in the education of its people, as done by others since Renaissance, explaining on the need to change this narrative.
Going to launch this book.
Dignitaries from within the Lagos and District Society of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria, ICANN, gathered to host their 59th president. It is also time to inaugurate the new excos of the FBN chapter.
This is clearly demonstrated in the vast and constantly growing community of chartered accountants on our staff list. At least 250 active financial members of the Institute throughout Nigeria.
The 31st chairman of the Lagos and District Society, Toyin Biola Salami, welcomes all present. She reflects on the journey so far, while restating the district's steadfast commitment to inspire the next generation of accountants.
We have remained steadfast in our commitment to excellence. Notably, initiatives such as the Catch Them Young program was also held in November, which hosted over 200 students.
While chartered members of the noble profession wine and dine, issues affecting accountancy globally take center stage at the interactive session. In a chat with the ICANN president, he is quick to share insight on transparency and accountability in the public finance space.
And what we have discovered is that the level of accountability and transparency is low for some states. Some states are taking the bottom 5 lowest performing states, and we have been advocating for this better transparency because we believe that when there is better transparency and accountability, then there is an improved governance because the various arms of government will be able to state what these funds are used for and how the funds impact on the life of the citizens.
The Association of Chartered Certified Accountants and the Institute of Management Accountants Global Economic Confidence Survey shows declining confidence among accountants globally for the third consecutive quarter in the fourth quarter of 2023, consistent with a further moderation in global growth. What is being done to drive confidence in young people to the profession, and what does the future hold for the industry?
As a district, every year we have all these programs that we carry out during the year. One of them is the Catch Them Young program, where we go to schools within our catchment area. We visit them, we give books, we give presents, we do quizzes. We try to encourage them to become accountants. This year alone, we had one in November, and we intend to have another one on the 28th of February. And all this is all done with sponsors and people who come together just to encourage our young ones to become accountants.
So what has happened in the profession is that globally, especially in the Western world, the profession is no longer attracting the young ones. And of course, you know, where you don't have young ones, the tendency is that the profession is going to get into extinction. But in ICANN, which is the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria, we have a program targeted at the young ones. We call it Catch Them Young program. And because of that, our program, we have been able to attract young ones to the profession.
Awards are presented to outstanding members of the district for exceptional service and dedication.
Madam, congratulations.
On behalf of the ICANN Lagos and District Society, we present these gifts to the President of ICANN.
So the more you belong to a chapter, the more you belong to a district, because that's a
At a Lion Estate in Lagos, family, friends, guests arrived to see the quintessential Vincent Dejumo Louis's corpse for the last time. Tears cascaded down on the faces of some, while others were there to comfort them. From there, his remains were moved to Holy Cross Cathedral at Catholic Mission Street, Lagos Island. At the church, the officiating minister, Very Reverend Monsignor Bernard Okodua, offers prayers for the deceased as the congregation joins the choir to sing hymns.
You give life to all things and make them holy. And you never cease to gather a people to yourselves, so that from the rising of the sun to its setting, a pure sacrifice may be offered to your name.
Popular Nigerian filmmaker Tunde Kelani shares his experience working with the late Dejumo Louis.
I happened to have worked with him in NTA, where he played the pioneering role of the village headmaster, Oloja. And he carried it on stage and off stage. He was Kabiyesi Adebosipo in Mainframe Productions, Agogo Ewo. He comes with a large dose of humility. He was famous, but he didn't carry it.
Kelani says the late icon's contribution to the entertainment industry will not be forgotten in a hurry.
he was home with everybody and inspired all of us. So we can never forget him. Even I can disclose here that the next film I'm going to make, Agogo Iwo 2, we are going to pay a tribute to his memory. So may his soul rest in peace.
The first daughter of the deceased, Adiola Folabi, says one thing no one could take away from his father was that he was apologetic whenever he was wrong. She wished him eternal rest.
What I remember the most is his voice. He had a wonderful voice and he sang a lot. And then he taught us how to sing, but he sang a lot. It was very thoughtful, and very forgiving. He can say sorry when it hurts. And I find that hard. The way we grew up, most parents don't know how to say sorry, but my daddy would tell you he's sorry when he's sorry. He has to be with the Lord. He has no choice.
More tributes poured in for Dejumo Louis as his son-in-law, Chukwuma Osakwe, recounted the moment he sought the hands of the thespian's daughter's hands in marriage. He describes him as a detribalized Nigerian. The wife of Osakwe, Adelola, corroborated her husband's view, hoping to see her father's wish for Nigeria come through.
I saw the side that the rest of the world didn't see, because I met a very playful man. When I arrived, he said, that he'd always known and prayed that one of his children, especially the males, should marry an Igbo person. But that this is his daughter now bringing an Igbo man, so that he's happy that his family is around. He wanted intertribal marriages.
There's so many of them, but they always ended with hugs and kisses. So for me, those are the things I'll miss the very most. So I'm wishing him good rest. And I'm trusting that his desires for us will come to be, right? And also that his desire for this nation, as we call that's cultural unity, is something that would really come to be, not in the not too distant future.
Vincent Dejumo Louis, an accomplished TV producer and director, played the role of Kabiesi in Nigeria's longest-running soap opera, Village Headmaster, which aired on the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA. He was one-time lecturer at the NTA College, Jos, Plateau State, and manager of programs at NTA Ibadan until his retirement in 1999. The late TV star was born on the 28th of July 1943 and passed on the 22nd of December 2023 at the age of 80.
Well, that's a wrap for today. I hope you enjoyed the event on the show today. Remember, if you want to showcase your events to the world, Plus Events is the place for you. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at Plus TV Africa Lifestyle. I am Uyime Elijah. Enjoy your weekend.
Oftentimes when we see celebrities either on social media, television, or in person, we assume they have it all together, but we forget that they're also human. Well, here are some of the low points of some of your favorite celebrities.
Photography for me was more a means of expression than at the beginning, than a source of income, you know. Luckily for me, my fine art career had picked up, so I was making a living as a painter while developing the passion for photography. So that gave me the opportunity, you know, to stand my ground and beat out a path, you know, towards the mastery of my craft, and then become, the Kelechi Amadi Obi that you people know today is all about insisting that my work had to be excellent. You see, I always tell people, do not chase success. You attract success by developing yourself. So when you apply yourself, you learn new ways, you improve your learning, you practice what you've learned. Once you improve yourself, then you add more value to the world, and then the world has no choice than to add financial value.
It took me 2 years to set up my house. I have to support my son. I have to do some things for my siblings, my younger ones. So it took me 2 years. I was making money by then. I was saving money, going to locations, but I was using a Nokia phone. I don't get carried away with anything. I don't want to stay in Lekki by force. I decided to keep my dignity against all odds. But during this period, a lot of people mocked me. How can you be staying in Obawole, Iju Shaga? Do what you can afford. Don't pass your boundary. Don't try to impress anybody. Live within your means.
Back then, when I was schooling in University of Jos, I was making music with them, Jesse Jack, Vice Prince, and everybody, Jeremiah Gang. I didn't have a laptop. And I remember Chopsticks had one laptop that he wasn't using, but he was looking for how to sell it. So he could gather money and go back to school, and so I told him that, give me this laptop, let me just borrow it. And before the next day, I zoomed to Lagos. I mean, it wasn't intentional, but I needed a laptop so bad to get my music going. And I think that's one downtime story that I've actually never told anybody. Things might be difficult, things might look like it's not gonna happen. People might even look at you like you don't know what the hell you're doing, but just as long as you know that you have your particular goal that you're trying to achieve, just stay focused with it. Do whatever seems possible, do whatever it takes to get to it. Because at the end of the day, winning is all that matters. Winning is all people care about. So make sure you go out there and just win. That's all.
I love storytelling. Every time I watched a film or every time I was in stage acting, I would come alive, and I sort of knew that was what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. That was what would bring me fulfillment. But the reality was I was a third-year student in a University of Technology studying chemical engineering. So I decided to quit. I decided to drop out of school. It was a struggle. No one wanted to listen to me. My family thought I was going crazy. Someone, my older brother thought I was smoking something. But I tried to convince them and no one listened to me. So what I did was to try and finish. So I went back to school, finished my engineering course, and by then I had almost forgot my dream to be in entertainment. So what happened was I served, got into an engineering firm, oil and gas, and I became an engineer, going offshore, going to the field. But, the dream started to come alive again. I'd watch movies, I'd get invited to on set by my friends, and that spark started to burn again. I started to see myself doing things, acting films, telling stories, and I couldn't sleep at night. I would dream and imagine myself in the entertainment world, and I'd come alive. So I decided I'd quit my job. And I walked back to my seat. I said goodbye to oil and gas and engineering, and I focused and faced entertainment, and that's how I got to where I am today.
To be honest, I don't want to give anybody a hope it's some easy thing to do. Or rest. Man. Okay, firstly, when you rest, then you pray. And that's real, man. It's not because I'm not even a churchgoer or anything, but this is real. It's because there's a power that's beyond you that works for you if you accept it or decide to go in that direction. So, for me, what works for me, what has worked for me, Buju, Daniel Benson, is I'll just kneel down and I'll tell God, this is what's popping and I want him to change it. Before I went into music, to be honest, in church, my mom forced me to church. So I go down